Bojangles employed 13 children to work after 7 p.m. between Labor Day and June 1st, more than 3 hours during a school day, and during school hours, all of which violated the child labor provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Are you on? Which side are you on?
Boss Watch is a segment that we do every week where we take a look at what bosses were up to in the South in the last week, because every night on the news you're going to see some poor soul's mugshot for this or that various, often, not super consequential crime. And yet, bosses are also guilty of many similar things, but often much worse, and you never see them getting arrested. There are no criminal penalties when bosses do the exact same things that workers do. And so we want to highlight that and do what we can to write that kind of media narrative. We're not going to have time for every single one of these stories that I have, Adam and I have compiled for this week, but I wanted to make sure to get to two. The first one in Mississippi talks about the death of a child in a Mississippi poultry processing plant, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where a 16-year-old was killed at work. This from the Department of Labor. For the second time in just over 2 years, a poultry processing plant in Hattiesburg has disregarded safety standards that have led to a worker's death, this time a 16-year-old sanitation worker who was pulled into a machine, federal safety investigators found. The U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration found that on July 14th, a contract worker employed by Onan Staffing was performing a deep clean of the deboning area at the Marjack Poultry, Mississippi plant. While sanitizing the still energized machine, the teen was caught in the rotating shaft and sprockets and pulled in, sustaining fatal injuries. Investigators found that despite a manager's supervision in and around the area prior to and during the fatal incident, lockout-tagout procedures were not utilized to disconnect power to the machine, and a lockout-tagout device was not used to prevent the machine from unintentionally starting during the cleaning. OSHA cited Marjack Poultry with 14 serious and 3 other than serious violations after finding the company failed to ensure energy control procedures were used to prevent the unexpected startup of machines while employees performed sanitation, exposing workers to caught-in hazards. They failed to ensure employees used lockout-tagout devices. They failed to ensure an energy control procedure. They failed to ensure that the machinery retained guarding. They didn't cover open holes in electrical cabinets, and they did not prevent workers from using portable ladders incorrectly to gain access to elevated workspaces. So for all of that, OSHA proposed $212,000 in penalties, and just for background, the agency previously found that Marjack Poultry violated federal safety law when an employee's shirt was caught in a machine and they were pulled in, pinning their body against the support and the machine's carousel, resulting in fatal injuries. In addition to OSHA's investigation, the department's Wage and Hour Division has opened a child labor investigation, and the matter is currently pending. And, people at the Alabama Policy Institute see stories like that, and they think, oh, the problem with this is that it's not legal for children to work in poultry plants. And that's what they have been saying explicitly in their new priority sheet, their new priority document for the Alabama legislature in 2024. Explicitly, they want to follow the trend of loosening child labor laws as we continue to see stories like this across the country where children are put in harm's way and sometimes killed to make some freak a profit. In Alabama, the U.S. Department of Labor has recovered $127,000 in back wages and liquidated damages for 22 workers at an aviation maintenance shop employed by a Dothan staffing company that misclassified them as independent contractors and denied them overtime wages. Investigators found that Lucero Aerospace Staffing Solutions paid workers straight-time rates for all hours worked and failed to pay the additional half-time rate required for hours over 40 in a work week. In addition, the employer failed to pay one worker at least the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. In Alabama, the Wage and Hour Division of the Department of Labor has recovered more than $500,000 waiting to be claimed for some 1,500 workers. and offers a workers' owed wages search tool that people can use to see if they are owed back wages collected by the agency. So workers who feel they may not be getting the wages they earned or are misclassified as independent contractors may contact a wage and hour division representative in their state through a list and interactive online map on the agency's website. So check that out if you reckon that that maybe it's possible that your employer was one of the people that stole from people and are not getting any criminal charges, obviously. In Tennessee, the nation's largest Bojangles franchise owner, and this makes me really sad because I'm a big Bojangles fan. I don't know if
also a Bojangles fan. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I've talked about this on the radio, but like Bojangles, got me through college. Like I would go there almost, certainly an unhealthy amount because during college I could get a Cajun filet biscuit and an individual serving of Bo Rounds for like $5. Oh no, and Cajun filet biscuit, individual serving of Bo Rounds, and a cinnamon biscuit for $5, dude. Holy
Not anymore, brother.
Not anymore. No, I know because I still get that same exact meal, and it is now like $7.68 or something. So still pretty cheap, but not $5 anymore. So anyway, now that I have glazed Bojangles,
let's tear them down.
Yeah, let's tear them down.
Now that you built them up. Yes.
Yeah.
Great chicken biscuits.
Yeah, great chicken biscuits.
I can eat. I can
unfortunately, made by children in some instances. So the largest Bojangles franchise owner will make enterprise-wide changes to improve working conditions for minor-aged employees in compliance with federal labor regulations at their 118 locations in Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Hey! Not Alabama, so our Bojangles are fine, hopefully. After entering an enhanced compliance agreement with the U.S. Department of Labor, the agreement comes after investigators with the department's wage and hour division found Bojangles of WNC LLC, based in Arden, North Carolina, violated federal child labor laws at a Bojangles location in Powell. This is the second time in less than 2 years that the division has cited the company for similar violations. Specifically, the division determined that Bojangles of WNC employed 13 children to work at the Powell restaurant after 7 p.m. between Labor Day and June 1st, more than 3 hours during a school day, and during school hours, all of which violated the child labor provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. In addition, the company employed 3 15-year-olds to use an oven for baking biscuits and a manual grease fryer, tasks the department has identified as hazardous for young workers. The agency assessed Bojangles with a $27,000 civil money penalty for allowing similar working hour violations as those identified in March 2022 at a Bojangles in Spartanburg, South Carolina. In that case, 16 minor-aged employees were affected, and the division assessed $11,000 in civil money penalties. Not very much for child abuse. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. Working people abuse children, we go to jail. As part of the agreement, Bojangles of WNC will take the following steps to ensure future compliance. They will stop 14 and 15-year-olds from using manual fryers or engaging in cooking activities in any of the occupations prohibited under the law. The employer will also post written notices on equipment not permitted for use by minor-aged employees in its stores. They will refrain from employing 14 and 15-year-olds to work outside of legally described hours, and they will distribute a copy of the child labor provisions of the FLSA to all current and future locations. Basically, they're gonna follow the law, they say. So here we go. I mean, just $27,000, man. 118 locations. This is just bizarre. In Florida, a 36-year-old mower operator drowned after the mower rolled over in a pond, pinning the worker underwater. Federal workplace safety inspectors determined the employer could have avoided the incident by following required safety measures outlined in the equipment operator's manual. An investigation into the July 4th, 2023 incident by the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration found the employee of TrueScapes Industries in Bradenton was riding a zero-turn lawnmower in a residential neighborhood when it tipped over into a water retention pond. Investigators learned the machine's rollover protection system was not engaged while operating on a sloping embankment near the pond, and the equipment was operated on a slope that exceeded the limitations defined in the equipment manual. OSHA cited the employer for one willful violation for not having a rollover protection system in use and for operating the equipment on a steep slope, and one serious violation for not providing potable water for drinking. OSHA proposed $166,000 in penalties. The agency cited TrueScapes after a similarly fatal incident in Bradenton in July of 2015. In that investigation, OSHA issued TrueScapes Industries 5 serious citations and proposed $18,000 in penalties. And this is something that's very funny, because this is the industry that those entrepreneurs that we talked to who had a podcast who stopped doing their podcast. They're like, landscaping people, and they were talking to us about how, we got to take so much risk because if one of our workers dies, then we'll get put under the jail. Obviously, this is not true. This company has killed not one but 2 people, and they're only facing fines. So, pretty gross. Had several dishonorable mentions. The U.S. Department of Labor has recovered $47,000 in back wages and liquidated damages for 2 former employees of 2 separate Tennessee-based healthcare providers, WellPath LLC and Whites Creek Wellness, that violated their rights to protective leave under the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act. A global electric vehicle battery manufacturer, SK Battery America Incorporated, exposed employees at its Commerce, Georgia plant to serious and potentially disabling safety and health hazards at a U.S. Department of Labor workplace and safety investigation found. OSHA proposed $75,000 in penalties. U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division investigators found that 2 Myrtle Beach, Florida daycare facilities, both operated by Kids Paradise, failed to pay overtime for hours worked over 40 in a work week to 61 employees. As required by the Fair Labor Standards Act, the division recovered $47,000 in back wages for these 61 workers. The U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division investigators found that Victoria Espinoza and Nora Caroline, owners of 2 North Florida restaurants, required some workers to arrive before the restaurant opened to prep for the day's shift and to clean at the end of their shifts after clocking out for the day. By doing so, they committed a minimum wage violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act. $124,000 in back wages and liquidated damages was recovered for 39 workers, and they assessed $4,000 in civil money penalties. And finally, a former pastor, Philip Brian Box, who now works at a Florida-based private Christian school, is facing theft charges after he allegedly stole nearly $9,000 from the Alabama Coroners Association, according to court records. Just another indication that if you steal from corporations, you're going to get smacked with a theft charge. Even if it's only $9,000. But if you steal $125,000 from 40 people, all you gotta do is pay it back if you're a boss. It's insane! You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?